Okay, join me on page 546 in the reading textbook. So the genre, nonfiction. A nonfiction article in a newspaper or magazine presents facts and information. We're going to be looking at cause and effect. A cause is an action that makes something else happen. An effect is the result of a cause. Okay, let's follow along.
The big one. How did an earthquake destroy a major American city? And could it happen again? A San Francisco trolley operates several weeks after the 1906 earthquake.
Okay, follow along on the main text.
More than a century ago, San Francisco was, as it is today, a gem of the Pacific coast. It had a population of about 400,000 and was a bustling city full of businesses, homes, libraries, and restaurants. As citizens of San Francisco drifted to sleep on the night of April 17, 1906, all was well. But it wouldn't stay that way. First, the shaking. The devastation of San Francisco began at 5:12 a.m. on April 18, 1906. A horrible howling sound shattered the early morning. The earth suddenly rumbled, vibrated, heaved, pitched, and wobbled. The whole street was undulating, recalled Police Sergeant Jesse Cook, who was there at the time.
Okay, turning the page, 547. Follow along. I'm going to start with the caption.
The earthquake was the first major natural disaster recorded in photos and motion pictures. The quake hit in two separate stages, each lasting a minute and 5 seconds. People woke up to showering plaster, breaking dishes, shifting furniture, toppling walls, and collapsing roofs. Houses lurched and fell apart, and buildings hopped off their foundations. An added blast rattled the air as the city gas plant blew up. Thousands of chimneys plunged through roofs. As a result of burst water mains, floods formed. Many people drowned in the waters. The quake suddenly ended in a strange stillness. Beyond view, the injured and trapped began to cry out. Soon those who were well enough undertook rescues and started to help them. Then the flames. The major quakes were over, but the city's real troubles had just begun. About 90% of all buildings were made of wood. They were reduced to splinters. When stoves and houses overturned, the wood quickly caught on fire. Scattered blazes began to burn at once.
Turning to page 548, follow along.
The broken water mains left the city without water. Because of that, the fire department couldn't help. Smaller blazes soon grew together into firestorms that ate up huge areas of the city. The flames spread despite attempts to create fire breaks. Even though firefighters used dynamite to blow up whole blocks of homes and businesses, the fire leapt over the gaps and continued to burn the city. In the first day, 250 city blocks were turned into ashes. Not until the third day did the last of the fires die down. By then, 514 city blocks, or 4.1 square miles, had been destroyed, including 28,188 buildings. Worst of all, about 2,500 people had died. More than 100,000 citizens had fled the city. Left behind were 250,000 homeless people. Rich and poor alike were affected. Everybody had to wait in line for food at quickly built soup kitchens and mess halls, keeping hope alive. The 1906 earthquake is still one of the greatest disasters suffered by a U.S. city. San Franciscans, however, were not ready to give up. They worked together to make one of the greatest comebacks in history. By April 23rd, just 5 days after the quake, plans for the first new downtown building were compiled. In 3 years, 20,000 buildings went up, all bigger and stronger than the 28,000 that had burned.
Okay, now the caption.
Earthquake victims see more bad news, an approaching fire.
Okay, turning the page. 549, follow along.
A shaky future. What lessons were learned from the collapse of San Francisco in 1906? The recent flooding from Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans is a reminder of what can happen when a city loses lives and housing. Today, even more is at risk in the Bay Area than in 1906. It now has about 7 million residents. It is also home to one of the nation's largest financial centers, busy ports, and a high concentration of scientific talent. How can these resources be protected? Communities in and around San Francisco are constructing buildings and highways that may withstand an earthquake. They have also created routes that could be used for evacuation. Many people believe that more needs to be done to protect the region. Older buildings in the Bay Area need to be updated to meet modern earthquake standards. A big quake would likely make them unusable. Scientists say that stress deep below Earth's surface could be building again. They worry that this could trigger another earthquake, or a series of smaller quakes. This is news that makes earthquake preparedness even more important to everyone who lives in the city by the bay.
Okay, and the caption.
The ferry building survived the 1906 earthquake, but its clock was stuck on 5:16 for a year.
All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.